Howard Gardner identified an eighth intelligence after he originally published his work on the seven intelligence. The naturalistic intelligence is expertise in recognition and classification of the numerous species of flora and fauna within an environment, as well as an intelligence for animals. So let's break that down. It's really about understanding the patterns of living things and applying that scientific reasoning to the world. So it's going to really be part of both animals and as well as plants and fauna. So these kind of people who use the naturalistic intelligence are going to be able to recognize and even classify different types of plants, maybe even animals. They're going to observe and reflect on some of the data. They even record it. They're going to create a living system for the material that they're learning, and they even imagine the material as an ecosystem or a pattern in a very 3D ability. They're going to write about nature, daily life, and people as a topic as they become engaged in this intelligence. So the naturalist intelligence really has everything to do with how we relate to our surroundings and how we fit into it. People who have the sensitivity to this intelligence and have an appreciation for nature, they're gifted at nurturing and they love to grow things, as well as have an ability to care for and interact with animals. They easily distinguish patterns in nature. They're also bothered by pollution. They enjoy having pets, they love gardening, and they love those scenic places. They most are going to feel alive when they're in contact with nature, which means that they're going to want to be outdoors a lot of time, especially camping, hiking, walking, climbing. They're going to really notice nature above all other things. They may even be very conscious of changes in weather. Temple Grandin is a great example of this particular kind of intelligence. So her uncle, in Oliver Sacks' book, An Anthropologist on Mars, wrote about her. He says she is a woman who is labeled as autistic, meaning that she has difficulty with those personal intelligences. But she's a genius with animals. She uses her extraordinary understanding of the needs of cattle to design machinery that helps calm them while they're being led to the slaughterhouse. And for those who fail to see any comparison in that sort of business, there is also the intelligence of animal rights activists. He says, my niece has this particular kind of animal smart. She's been a vegetarian since she is 6. She refuses to wear animal products. Instead of presents for her birthday, she asks for donations to animal rights organizations like Greenpeace or PETA. Jane Goodall, the chimpanzees expert, is another one who demonstrates this naturalistic intelligence. She has spent much time observing chimpanzees and championing their cause around the world. She wrote about following a hen into the chicken coop at age 5. She wanted to find out where eggs came from, and so she hid in the back of the hen house and waited patiently for over 4 hours until her family, who was very distressed at the time at not finding her, called the police. Then finally, Jane writes, my mother, calling in the gloom, saw this excited little girl come running across a field with shining eyes and straw all over her. Instead of scolding me, which would have taken away all the joy, she sat down to hear all about my wonderful experience. Charles Darwin is perhaps the most famous of all the naturalists, and he was actually considered to be a dunce by his family. His father once told him, you care for nothing but shooting, dogs, and rat catching. You will be a disgrace to yourself and all your family. Fortunately, his father was wrong, and Charles transferred his rat-catching ability to other species as well, and thereby changed the way that we actually view the evolution of all of us. This slideshow is actually part of a course called Be Supersmart, and it's available on udemy.com. During this course, we're going to look at testing and how you can really discover what intelligences you use, your preferred intelligences, as well as your less preferred intelligences. And although Howard Gardner doesn't really support any testing, there are some ways that you can discover which intelligences come naturally to you. We also look at examples of historical figures and how they've used the multiple intelligences. We investigate the dimensions of each of these multiple intelligences, as well as explore what they are and experience each one, even if they are less preferred. Then, lastly, we develop and we create a plan to expand any desired intelligences so that we can create them and make something greater for ourselves.